Thank you, Mr. Prabhu, Ambassador Menon, Mr. Godrej, Excellencies, thank you very much for coming. I know you're here to listen to the National Security Advisor, so I'm only going to interrupt this for a few seconds. We've been in operation for 2 years. I'll take 6 minutes of your time, and I'll just showcase what is it that, who we are and what we've been doing. So as Mr. Prabhu mentioned, our mandate is to integrate energy, environment, and water issues, both as research outputs as well as policy inputs around the world. We are an international and globally engaged institution, and we conduct independent research. All our reports, all our publications are peer-reviewed, often internationally. So essentially, our mission is to address global issues in an integrated way. So the way we work is we try and take each level of governance, and then we try and see what's not being done. What do we need to pay attention to? So the global level, we work on what we call over-the-horizon issues, things that might not be immediately on the agenda of a policymaker, either here or elsewhere, but which we feel that you need to keep your eye on the ball over the future. So for instance, we work on energy trade and climate linkages. The climate world, for instance, wants that clean energy gets subsidized. The trade world says subsidies are bad. Now, how do you create a policy framework where investors are going to invest in sustainable infrastructure? We work on sustainability finance across the world. Our latest report has just come out focusing on new market-based instruments. We work on new technologies called geoengineering as a sort of plan B for climate change, but we work on the governance of it. How do you make sure that the downsides of these technologies are regulated and governed internationally? And as Mr. Prabhu mentioned, we work on international cooperation around the world. At the national level, we try and develop broad national level policy frameworks. We did one for the Planning Commission of India for the entire country's water resources framework for the 12th five-year plan. We've just completed a report on the National Solar Mission, the first independent analysis of the National Solar Mission, one of the world's largest solar programs. We produced the first report on global governance in India, and I have many of my more distinguished colleagues from this working group, Ambassador Shyam Saran, Ambassador Ghosh, Mr. Kiran Karnik, Commodore Uday Bhaskar, Professor Radha Kumar. We all came together to think, how do we understand linkages between energy, trade, climate, finance, cybersecurity, and so forth. And of course, we helped facilitate R&D. We facilitated the India-US Joint Clean Energy R&D Center, bringing about 700 companies and research labs in both the countries together to try and form research consortia that would work on transformational R&D on clean energy. But ultimately, the proof of concept is at the state level or even down at the district level. Unless you can prove that something works there, all of this is only something that serves as ideas. We conducted water dialogues around the country, but more recently, we've just finished a report for the government of Bihar on reform of minor irrigation. Because that state, while it's growing really fast, it needs to grow based on its agricultural growth. If it wants to grow based on agriculture, it needs irrigation. Then you look at the landholding patterns in Bihar, 96% of the farmers are small and marginal. So big irrigation is not going to serve them. So we went to 5 districts in Bihar, did surveys with farmers, with water user associations, with irrigation officials, and we've created a framework. Now this is just the first input. Then we've got to integrate it with agriculture, with energy, and so forth. So essentially, that map gives you an idea that in the last 2 years, our global footprint across our thematic areas. And what we've achieved in the last 2 years is essentially we have about 26 research projects, 7 book-length research reports, 24 instances of being tapped as a resource for official agencies. We've promoted partnerships within governments, we've supported industry, and of course we've organized networks around the world. Very quickly, this is our conceptual framework. This is what integration of these issues mean. In any country, in any state, in any district, you will have an energy mix. You will have water requirements. You will have environmental concerns. Often, if you try and solve a single problem, you will get those red lines, those trade-offs with other areas. And our objective is to try and find the co-benefits. There's no single answer at any level of governance or between one district and another. And that's why we need to take our ideas and go down into the field to make sure that we are getting the reality checks. So ultimately, how do we take our ideas forward? One of the key areas of our work going forward is going to be on resources efficiency and security. From point of origin to point of use, how do we improve efficiencies and thereby get to security? We're already one of the world's biggest importers of coal, for instance, but we need to build up our port infrastructure to import that. We've been a growing importer of oil, but then again we'll have to increase our infrastructure to import and then transport the oil. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that the integrated approach is crucial at every level of governance. The international approach helps us connect the dots between these issues. And it's our independent research that lends us credibility. It's with those words that I want to thank you for coming. The main purpose of this evening is to listen to the National Security Advisor and to have a good time. And I hope you will. Thank you very much.